And here we go. Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Dr. Ken Long from Colorado Tech in the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College. And I'm talking tonight with Bill Scheidt from SEWA Beats on behalf of the ABSEL 2017 annual conference. We're really excited Bill and the African drums are coming to open our minds and hearts with some African drumming. And so, Bill, if we could just start at the top here, tell us a little bit about your background and what SEWA Beats is all about, and something about Mamadi Keita, perhaps. Why don't you get us started?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Thanks, Ken. First of all, we're really excited to be coming in March, so thank you very much for having us. My background is I am currently the Managing Director of SEWA Beats North America. We are a corporate training company that does programs primarily in the areas of communication, collaboration, leadership, and change management. Of course, all of our programs use the metaphor of music to deliver the learning objectives that our clients are focused on. And of course, all of our sessions are really experiential learning sessions. You know, the way that we like to describe what we do is we use music as a metaphor for professional learning and for professional success. You know, so far we've done programs in 19 countries and 7 different languages. We've worked with organizations like the Harvard Business School, IBM, Coca-Cola, BMW, Hewlett-Packard, Cisco Systems, you name it. For me, it's been just an absolutely fascinating and rewarding work to bring the art of West African drumming and the tool of the drum itself to the modern learning environment. My background with the drum is I've actually been playing drums now for 24 years. I've been to Africa 6 times. Spent a year and a half living and working in rural villages there, and my time there just was absolutely transformative. And you know, this for me is actually a way of kind of paying forward that experience. And the real juice, the real meat in this work, if you will, is finding a way to connect the power of the music there and the tool of the drum in a way that really makes sense with folks here in the West and is of value, and it serves people regardless of what their profession or what their industry.
So would it be fair to say that the drum is, and what you're teaching is more than just the music? I mean, it is the music, obviously, but that's not the end state of playing a drum or playing a particular song. It sounds like your work is transcending and much more holistic in terms of community and team building. Is that
absolutely?
That?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, the drum is really just the interface. It's the tool, and really the experience of making music. That's the metaphor. And then in that experiential learning, you know, we can point that experience in a lot of different directions and cover a lot of different learning objectives, and you know, and yes, there's also that kind of personal connection to it, the emotional connection, if you will, that goes hand in hand. Because
well, how much of that comes from Mamadi Keita and the role of the drum in African community life?
Yeah, great question. Well, just for our listeners who may not know who Mamadi Keita is, he's considered to be one of the world's greatest West African drummers, and really largely responsible for popularizing the drum outside of Africa. He's an absolutely amazing person, and talking about an experiential learner, you know, he grew up in a village with no roads, no running water, no electricity, did not go to school. Today he is the founder of the world's first West African Academy of West African Drumming. There's locations in Europe, in North America, in South America, in the Middle East, in Asia, and you ask him how did he arrive here, because literally his brothers and sisters are still subsistence farmers in his village. There's still no electricity there. There's still no paved roads. They still get waters from a well. And he says, yeah, I just learned through my experience. I learned through being with people from the West and being in that environment. So absolutely amazing experiential learner. Now, to your question, how much of the traditional side of the drum carries over? Well, in the village, the drum is about bringing people together. Quite literally, when people hear a drum being played in the village, they drop what they are doing and they come together because it's about celebration, and it's never played unless there's something to celebrate, a birth, a baptism, a wedding, something along those lines. So it's perfect that in the West we are using it for collaboration, we are using it for team building, because really that's what it was designed for. And I find it very interesting to think that this music has been around since the 13th century, and it's been around in a culture and in a place where life is very challenging and people are at subsistence level, but still they take the time to keep this music alive, to keep this tradition alive. So, I think it says a lot about the value of what the music brings, and also the value of the collaboration and the connection and the sense of team that comes out of being around this music.
Yeah, you can. I'm just showing some pictures of Mamadi here, and you can. The one thing that's you see in all of them is just the joy and the peace and the sharing that this guy has inside his heart. It just pours out. Everything you see of is he's very alive and connected, and you see that in his videos. You hear it in his music, and I find that to be in the spirit that he has taught you, and obviously as you teach us, and the way he is inclusive. And I think what's really interesting about his message is that he's trying to preserve the culture of the drum as a community builder, as an organizing principle, and it's through the experience of the drumming that that message is taught. So let's get back a little bit more now to the some of the folks you've worked with, and maybe just give us a sense of like an example of some different settings that you may use the drumming in, and to have this experience with what we would think of as pretty high-powered companies and movers and shakers, and yet you can see in your brochure there hundreds of drums lined up and people in three-piece suits from Cisco and Harvard Business Review and Kraft. And what is the common experience that all these different organizations have? What is it that surprises them, and what is it that you continually find session after session? Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the thing that always surprises participants and always lights me up is number one, how relevant it is to what they do, regardless of their background, regardless of their industry, regardless of their position in the company, just how many connections they are able to make through the metaphor of music, through that experiential learning modality. And that delights me. I can see the connections in my own life and how the metaphor of music serves me day to day, but to see other people also make that connection, that lights me up. That's paying it forward right there. Some of the ways in which these companies are using us are for, to give you an example, leadership development programs, for change management trainings. They'll bring us in as keynote speakers for huge annual meetings, for sales conferences, for product launches, you name it. And yeah, like you were looking in the photos there, we're doing programs at, as small as a few dozen people up to a few thousand people. And it's really interesting to see how scalable the experience is. And regardless of the size of the group, the experiential learning that comes out of it is always powerful. And I think it really surprises people in that way. And I think the other thing that surprises people is, in the West we have, I think, a lot of not performance anxiety, perhaps performance pressure, and we think, well, I don't have any rhythm, or I don't have a music background, I'm not going to be any good at this. But there's a level of immediate accessibility with the drum, and when you play together with a group of colleagues, many of which also may have never played before, there's a real feeling of satisfaction, of gratification, a real sense of personal achievement and group achievement in that as well.
Yeah, I wanted to. I want to have you talk with us a little bit about what we might be able to expect at your keynote speech, and I just want to set that up with my own experience with your drumming, if I may just take a couple minutes. One of the things that I do is I teach traders how to trade in the stock market and currency markets and commodity markets. In many cases, the people I'm teaching are mature professionals who have developed their own habits of excellence in their chosen profession, and then are trying to learn a new profession, which puts them quite often at a disadvantage because they have to learn new ways of believing and behaving, and so they find themselves in the role of adult learners, and in many cases having to unlearn the things they thought they knew. They have to learn how to participate in a community of practice and to do collaborative learning. And what we found was that when we brought together the need to develop new trading techniques and learning techniques, and we linked that up with an instrument called Brain Mode Power that examines learning preferences in terms of visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, that when we brought the drumming together, the drumming actually exercised all three of those different modalities, because you can feel the drum with your hands and your body, you can hear the drum as you play it and as your partners play it, and you can see the drum master's hands as you're trying to learn a new pattern. You can see the way his hands are moving, and you can adopt the visual mode. And so we at first, when you and I first started doing this for my clients, we were really looking at drumming as a way to relieve the stress that accumulates when you're trading in the markets. But it turned out to be a very powerful force for creating collaborative learning, building a rapid sense of community, a way to express oneself, to learn without fear, because the drum is very forgiving and the drum circle is very forgiving. And so just as I'm not going to read all of these, but what you and I have developed over the years are a series of different short exercises that allow us to explore many different aspects of the trading environment. And there's a direct metaphor between trying to learn to drum and experiencing the feel and the sound of the drum with the trading skills that we're trying to develop. Like we learned how to become disciplined and focused with the marching cadence, and how easily we can get everybody marching together and feeling the power of the tribe. At the same time, we can then explore the space with some people laying down the beat and other people venturing out and exploring their own expression, then coming back to the tribe. We learned how to blend our voices together, how to do call and response. We learned how to let other people be in leadership. It's your turn to lead the beat and my turn to support it. And how do I know it's my turn, and how can I communicate back and forth, and how can I learn to be forgiving of myself as a new learner of the drum, and forgiving of others and being supportive of them. So what we found was that in the application of drumming and experiential learning, that we were able to adapt it and apply it to a very specific discipline that we were trying to learn. And at the same time, when the drum circle was over, we found that people were eager to continue their own explorations in their own personal space, and people were drumming that had never drummed before. So to me, there's something very fundamental about how the drum connects us as people. It helps us connect our brain to our heart. It connects us as a community of practice, and it has a very powerful force for experiential learning when you're trying to learn other things. It acts as a bridge. Have you seen that kind of stuff in other dimensions or with other companies or whatever?
I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, you just hit
well,
the
then
nail
I'm gonna let me mark up that copy. I'll send you my bill later. But that's been my experience. I mean, I've always wanted to be a drummer, and then when I finally, at age 50, decided, heck, I just got to go for it while I still can walk, and I found it really has opened up new dimensions in my own learning incredibly. So let's kind of bring this back around now to
Sure.
You described an experience with the at Harvard where you were in a room full of some of the smartest people in the world, and rather than lecturing at them, you invited them to participate from the opening minutes of the workshop. and that sounds like something that we might end up doing at ABSEL. Uh, uh, Except for me and you, there's going to be a lot of smart people in that room. So how
Yeah.
might, if we use that Harvard model, what kind of things do you think we might see in March when you're up there on the stage?
Great question. You know, and just to kind of give you a little bit more color about what we did there in Harvard, yeah, we were working with 100 of the faculty and staff there, and yeah, definitely some of the smartest people in the world. So, you know, in the opening minutes, I, you know, just kind of framed the idea of music as a metaphor for experiential learning, and I said, look, we're not going to use my expertise to navigate this exploration. We're going to use yours. And so when we debrief each step in the process of the collective music making experience, I'll invite you to share what connections you're making, what lights up for you, what do you see in this? And it was just absolutely amazing to hear what connections they were making and how substantive and relevant they found it to what they do across this huge variety of disciplines. And
Now,
you know what I
how much of that was them accessing their feelings and their heart as opposed to maybe what was just in their head?
oh I think
Surprise you.
yeah, that's a great question, Ken. You know, I think there was a lot of emotional connection for people in that room, and I think maybe for some of those folks that was a not a usual modality of operation for them. I think they're, you know, it's a pretty heavily intellectual crowd there. You know, not to make any value judgments or compare one to the other, but I think that people were making a lot of emotional connections, and I think that that was really making the learning all that much more impactful.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've been experiencing lately in the last 5 years, I've been doing a lot of curriculum design work. And
Mhm.
while I used to spend almost all my time on the cognitive conceptual pieces, what I've come to appreciate is how powerful and important the affective, the emotional domain, the climate,
Yeah.
the environment that you're learning in. Like we just tried a new program in our college this year, a midterm comprehensive oral examination of an hour of students sitting in front of a board and getting grilled. And the
Mm.
faculty spent most of the time on the cognitive pieces of what were the concepts that needed to be addressed, and how could we execute that to a discipline standard. And yet when I spoke with the students and as I observed them going through that experience, far more powerful and important was the emotional settings that the students found themselves in, trying to get through this challenge to get to the other side, to feel like a field grade officer in the Army. And that was
Mm.
probably more important to them, the feelings in the affective domain, than it was necessarily on the cognitive pieces we were looking for. And so
Yeah.
sometimes I think when we've been working in a field and have become experts in it, sometimes we forget the experiential side of the learning, the emotional content, the learning environment, and how powerful that is
Yeah.
to the student's experience. And so, one of the things that I think we will see is, I hope, is that we're going to connect back to our inner authentic selves through the drumming and discover what it feels like once more to be a genuine learner, to be a beginner, and the joy of discovery and the hidden surprises that come from the drum,
Yep.
and the supportive, how important it is to have that supportive group around you, whether it's the peers that you're learning with or the way your faculty members have structured the learning environment. And so because we have folks that are doing a lot of that kind of design work, I think this is going to be an interesting experience for all of us in that big room. So um, what's it going to be like with 100 people and 100 drums and your team of folks coming in? What kind of adjectives would you use to describe that? And you can't use the word amazing, because I'm going to say it's going to be amazing. What else are we going to look forward to, do you think?
Very high energy, very engaging, very dynamic. I think, you know, it never ceases to wow people, the effect of 100 people in a room with drums all playing together, all going on that musical journey together. And to the points that you just made, there is a very powerful emotional component to it. And actually a lot of the corporate clients that we're working with, a lot of those curriculum designers, those training designers, they are bringing us in exactly because that is what they are looking for. You know, they're not looking for another PowerPoint. They're not looking for more information about communication or about leadership or about change management. They're looking for an emotional experience of those things.
Of actually doing, of being the communication and not talking about it. Yes, I get you.
Yeah. Exactly. And you know, and you said it before. There's the discovery, the joy, if you will, of being a brand new learner. You know, so I say to our clients all the time, like, look, we're not going to tell you anything that you don't already know. We're going to just give you the opportunity to look at what you already know through a unique lens, through a unique perspective, and that is through the perspective of music. And when you approach it as a brand new beginner, someone who's never played the drums before, you know, you come at it with this fresh mindset, and because you're in that state of alertness, of openness, of emotional engagement, you know, what you see about yourself and what you see about very specific learning objectives, you know, for us it's a lot of leadership, communication, etc. It's something that there's an opportunity there that is not often experienced just in our day-to-day normal state of operation or normal.
Yeah, as well. I was just thinking about as we wind up here. You and I have seen this 40 or 50 times with when we do the drumming experience for at trading workshops. Is that we'll have guys that have traded, you know, in the markets all day, and that's very much like combat. You know, it's in there going 12 rounds with the champ. And it'll be in the afternoon, and they're tired. Then we'll take a quick drumming break, and 15 minutes later of hitting the skins together, these guys are young and energetic and ready to go, and they've left their cares behind, and it gives them a burst of energy and good feeling that lasts the rest of the day. It's just amazing how powerful that physical, experiential moment can really be. It quiets the monkey mind, the chattering in our head, gets us refocused on our breathing and our heart. It's just really a powerful experience. So, hey, I know you got a dash off to dinner here with your wonderful wife Leah and the boy Finn, and I've got some soccer practice to get to. So let's wrap this up. And I'm really grateful for you being able to spend some time with us. I wish I could hit fast forward and make March hurry up and get here, but I've got a lot of practicing to do so that I can be the best student that I can be in March. I'm really looking forward to seeing you again, my friend, and
thank you.
Can't wait to share the gift that is you with all my friends at ABSEL, and this is just going to be a wonderful experience. So take good care, and we will see you on down the road.
Thanks, you too. Cheers.
Yeah, bye-bye.